Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for this Hot as Fuck podcast episode. I have an incredible, amazing sister and guest on today. Everybody, welcome Madison Aldini. Madison is a money coach, and I love her because she is mindset and strategy. And just like her title, like helping all the girlies become millionaires. You guys, we are not playing small in this room, in this space. So she is personal finance, money manifestation, stop feeling broke and start building wealth. Madison, thank you so much for being here today.
I could not be more excited for this conversation. I know I just had you on my podcast and we had like the best yap session about such important topics and conversations that I know the ladies want to hear. So I'm so excited and honored to get a chance to be here and continue the conversation on your side of the house. So hello, everybody.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. We have been talking about this, you guys. I feel like since the beginning of the year, we were just like, yes, like the texture and tether of like us women coming out into this world, fucking blowing some shit up and doing things our way is like, we're here, we're colliding. Okay, Madison, I would love to start with you sharing a little bit more about yourself. Anything else there in that little like mini bio, just a little bit about you. And then I want to really like dive into your story of like, how did you become a money coach and what that looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like you nailed it. I love all aspects of money. So I am a certified mindset coach within NLP subconscious reprogramming. The beliefs that we have about ourselves and about money are incredibly important when we're talking about changing our financial reality. So bringing the mindset component in with the tactical strategy advice, plus the quote unquote woo, right? The manifestation, the energy behind it all. Like I just didn't see anybody combining all of these. And to me, I feel like they are all so intertwined. So that was really my approach heading into coaching was, utilizing manifestation principles, personal finance principles, and actual mindset reframes and rewiring techniques to change your whole financial reality and help instill confidence in women that they can use money and they can utilize it as a tool to build a life that they love and that they are obsessed with. So that is what I am all about. My story of getting into this is I struggled with money. As any good story is, right? I struggled with money. I moved out at 17 during my senior year of high school. So I, from a very young age, became financially responsible for myself. From that point of moving out, I was paying all my bills, filing taxes for the first time. I was also putting myself through college. So I went to a 4-year university down in Tucson, Arizona. Bear down if any West Coasters are listening. But I was the first person in my family to go to a 4-year university. I didn't have any financial support, any financial guidance. So I was just navigating, taking out loans and scholarships and opening up credit cards and maxing out credit cards and working multiple jobs throughout all of college. And ultimately, by the time I graduated, I had been living in this paycheck to paycheck cycle, really just in survival mode. I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. And it's like, yeah, for sure. We're in college. I think some of that's to be expected, but I think all the financial pressure and burden of everything for 5 years now, by the time I got out of college, I just did not want to be a broke bitch anymore. Like I didn't want to do it. So I decided not to move to the big city that I felt like I was supposed to move to. I stayed local. And I went into a sales job because I knew you can make money in sales. And that was my big motivator. And when I went into the job, I put a 6-figure income on a pedestal and thought it was going to solve all my problems, right? I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. More money and all my problems are going to be solved. And it took me about 3 years in that job. By 25, I was making 6 figures. And I remember looking up and being like, this just doesn't feel the way I thought it was going to feel. And I feel like I'm missing a lot of information here. Like looking back, my money story started and ended with work hard, make money. That was it. Work hard, make money. I didn't realize that I should be trying to keep money and grow money. And I didn't realize at the time that you can actually use your money to buy investments that buy back your time and that you can actually hit a point in your life where your investments support your life and you don't have to work anymore. And I got hyper obsessed with that because I was like, whoa, I'm realizing that I don't actually want the money for money anymore. Don't get me wrong. We still want money. We still like to have nice things. But ultimately, I just realized that being in control of my time was the most important thing to me. and was really just confused on like why we weren't having more conversations around money and about our subconscious beliefs and the money story that we carry and how that shows up in our reality. So I just got educated on both of those. By the time I took my money journey seriously, I ended up paying off $70,000 of debt that I had racked up, grew my net worth to a couple $100,000 in my 20s, and was just like, women need to have this info. Like, why is this not a larger conversation? And really, ultimately, long story short, went through my own spiritual awakening of just like, oh my God, my pain is my purpose. And I think I went through all this bullshit so that I can actually help other women feel confident with their finances and have a space that isn't the crusty old white guy mansplaining money to you. Like, let's just talk about your life. Let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish. Let's talk about the habits and the beliefs that have gotten you to where you're at. And what do we need to shift to get you to where you want to go? And I created the space that I wish existed. I created a coaching experience that merged all of these things that it isn't out there, right? It is usually just a very stuffy old white man conversation. And I was sick of it. So I wanted to start a new convo.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I have so many things from there I want to even pull from. And I just even like the last piece, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit later too, but like I even reached out to you a few weeks ago and was like, hey girl, like I wanted to start reading some more money books again, or like wealth, financial books. And was like, oh, I'm going to reach out to my girl Madison, see what she's got. And I remember I like specifically asked you to be like, not by an old white man. Like, because I was like, it's kind of the same like tone. Like, listen, I get when we like we don't need to reinvent the wheel all the way over to like get results, so we can use what exists. But at the same time, that like the texture and of like us women like trying to do it the man's way that we've been forced or basically put into doing for all the things is just not sitting with me or you. And I'm like, no, like I want to know some bad bitches that are making some money and how are they doing it? Because we're still the one raising the babies. We're still the ones taking care of the house for the most. Like things are different for us and we work different. So I love that. Like we are like the opening the door to the conversation of like doing things differently. Gosh, I kind of want to go there right now actually from that, because there's some things I want to pull out, but like we were talking about before this, like you already in the middle of this rebrand because of the work you've been doing now, your work, your experience, where you got, and then now you've been helping so many other women do this, that you had your own evolution and like come to you. So let's just share that, like, because that was this convo we were getting into. What's your rebrand? Let's drop the T, and why does it matter? Like, why did that even come to you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the rebrand is all around new money. This concept of new money. I think right now everybody is fascinated with old money, and it's like I get it, and at the same time nobody I know is out here operating from old money mentality or has old money access, right? And so through my work and like all the conversations of the women that I help, and also my story, just realizing like what resonates is this idea of new money, like reclaiming new money, and new money in a way of new ways of doing things, right? Not following all the rules, the shoulds, like I don't know, I feel like traditional advice says I should do this, right? And it goes back to like bringing in the energetics, bringing in, I feel like manifestation world is very personal development-y. Like my approach is very much like, who are you trying to become? What is the best version of yourself? And how do we build a money plan that matches that? And also just like, new mindset, new moves, new objectives, new conversations. Like, let's do shit different. Do something that aligns with who you are trying to become. And also, I feel like myself and a lot of people that I work with, they just know that they want to do something different than what they were raised in, right? They don't want to don't want to repeat these patterns. They don't want to end up in the same money cycles that they watch their parents end up in. And they feel called to be the person to do it differently and to be the person that is like, you know what? I'm going to break this cycle. I'm not going to actually do this. I want to give my kids a different experience. I want to live a different life. And in order to do that, that's where like a lot of that mindset conversation comes in, because you really have to be able to looking at what you believe to be true about money and starting to shift that and write a new narrative for yourself and write a new story and instill new beliefs in yourself so that you can live a new reality. And so there was so many things there from like a play on words perspective, but also just an energetic component. And I got here because, I think we can all relate to the fact that like the internet is an opportunity for you to share your story and to make something known. And I really wanted to, I don't know, I was just reflecting on like, what do I want to stand for? What is the message that I want to instill in the people that come into my world, and what kind of conversation am I trying to facilitate around the topic of money, and what do I want people to feel when they come into my world? And it's expansion and possibility, and whatever was doesn't have to be what is in the future. And so for all of those reasons, yeah, we landed on this, and that's really what I want people to leave with when they come into my world, is that they can rewrite everything and it can be new and you can do things your way and it can feel good and expansive and all of that. So I'm just really excited about it. So New Money, my name is New Money Madison. My program name is New Money Millionaire. And it's all about you doing it your way and breaking cycles and building a life that you're obsessed with.
Okay. OMG. Love so much. And Madison and I kind of chatted before this to share that. And like, a couple things even come up now. Well, one, it was like the new money to me does feel like for women. Like that title, that name is so, to me, like instantly women centered and focused, because the men have been making the money for so long and we have not been able to like literally open a bank account or credit card until like what?
50 years ago.
50 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, so
crazy.
It's like, yeah, this feels like, and I love those words you use. And I feel that with that name and that title is expansive. It's new money, like, and doing it different. And I love that. It feels like, I just like have this vision of like women rushing in and being like, and I actually heard this, I feel like on a podcast talking about like how the transfer of wealth is going to shift to women. Yep. I don't know what the timeline was like sharing with that, but like, it's happening. And like you are now like this new money is like a part of that movement.
It is. And in like entrepreneurship, women are starting to outpace men in businesses. And I've always said this. I mean, obviously so biased, but like sales, business owners, like women's EQ is just different. You know what I mean? Like we just tap into something different. And I think it's really exciting. And there is definitely a big wealth transfer happening. All the things, more money in women's pockets. That's what it's all about.
Yes. Are you guys hearing this? Most of my audience being women. So yes, ladies, let's go. Okay. So from that, I heard something, you've said this a couple times now, which was essentially like you had a vision. Once you got a vision back in your story of like your experience, and it wasn't just about the money. It was like, whoa, like it was bigger than that.
Yeah.
Like that to me, when I heard that, is like, that's what allowed you to like then do the strategies or the things differently or energetically changes from this vision. And then even when you were sharing about new money, kept hearing like, who are you? Like really like an identity of like a woman who can be a millionaire, gasp, like when these aren't like conversations we've been told or had. And like I'm a mama, especially as a mother, like it's more like the men make the money. They're the breadwinner. They're doing all the things. So I'm curious, like with vision or with this, like, who are you? Like, what would you tell a woman who's listening now and who's like, now like her ears are perked and we're like, okay, I want this. I want to be one of these new women with new money. What is that, creating that vision, that like stepping into that identity? What's like the first step or something you can share for them to start to do that?
I love this question. And you nailed it with the identity work. That is like phase one of my approach, is really crafting like, who is the identity of the version that you want to become, right? And when I think of identity, I think of How does she look? How are you presenting yourself to the world? Sure. How are you energetically? Like, who are you when you step in a room? What kind of energy are you leaving the conversations with that you're involved in, right? What kind of habits do you have? How do you talk to others? How do you talk to yourself? Like, there's so much involved in the identity. And I think if you're trying to figure out like what that step is, like, and also, yeah, like how you spend your time, money, and energy, right? It's like, who do you want to be when you get to your end of your life? What do you want people to be saying about you, right? Like that guides me a lot. I want to get to the end of my life and make sure that fear is not running the show for me, and that I'm not being bold and going after the life that I want to live. And so I think, trying to figure out what that is for you and who that is, it's just asking yourself like that, like, what's the legacy that you want to leave? And on a more nitty gritty level, like, what do you want your life to look like? Like, if you were to sit down and ask yourself this question of, if the answer was yes, what would you ask for? If there was no limitations, right? Because what happens for a lot of people when they start to dream is they're like, well, but I mean, and then I couldn't because no, we're removing all of that. So I would implore you to sit down with a journal and a pen and just be like, okay, if I were to design my dream life and the answer was going to be yes, what would I actually be wanting to do with my time? How would my perfect day look? What would my perfect month look like? How many vacations would I be going on in a year? What would I be doing? Right. And I think when you can get really clear on that and you can understand, okay, my perfect day, right? Am I going to the gym every single morning? Am I a 5 a.m. girly? Like, do I have a solid sleep routine? Like, do I have these habits? Like, what is it? And every time you do this exercise, you're going to get more clarity around who she is and how you get there. And then you just figure out, okay, well, what's the smallest step I can do today to start showing up like her? Smallest action, right? And then you just start doing it, and then you start habit stacking, and all of a sudden you're like shifting all of this. And I think that shifting your financial confidence is such a good domino in this, because a lot of the no's that come up and, well, I couldn't do that, is, oh, well, I couldn't afford it, right? How
Mhm.
many things do we say no to? What kind of life are we not doing? What kind of experiences are we not having because of our finances, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like removing that and just figuring out what kind of life you want to live, and then like backwards engineering it, right? And it's not saying like, okay, now you get to just go live this $1 million life today, but how do we start to move in that direction and correct?
Ooh, okay. Love, love, love. That's so tangible, you guys, right there. And let's take it that next step from there. So I'm curious, if again, a woman's listening to this and they're like, yes, okay, I have this identity, this vision for myself, and I want to start doing some of these strategies to create this new money.
Mm-hmm.
What would be maybe the first three things, or what comes to you? Like, how would a woman get started to create her new money life?
Yeah. I would look at like, where are you spending your money right now, right? I think a really good exercise I do with a lot of my clients is create what we call an aligned spending plan, which is really just like my cuter take on a budget, because budgets are very based in restriction. What I like to have you do is look at, okay, you say you want this life, you say you want this person. Super tangible example that comes up often is, I want to be a really healthy person. Like, I prioritize my fitness, I prioritize my nutrition, which I already know, if you're listening to this podcast, that's you, right? And then what we would do is like, okay, well, let's go take a look at your spending for the last couple of months and let's see how aligned it is with the life that you're trying to create. And what happens more often than not is people are like, oh, well, I'm saying this is a priority for me, but I'm actually spending a lot of money on takeout, or I'm spending a lot of money on drinks at the bar, or and it's like, okay, well, then is that aligning with the life that you want, right? Money is currency, it's energy. So it's like, you're saying you want this and then you're doing this, right? It's an opportunity for you to ask yourself, how in alignment am I right now?
Yeah.
And then you can really ask yourself, how do I want to go forward, right? What do I want my spending to look like going forward? I feel like there's, like, in the entrepreneurial space, I've heard people say all the time, like, show me your calendar and I can show you whatever, right? So it's kind of like the same thing. Like, show me how you're spending your money and I can show you if you're spending in alignment with the life you're trying to create, or if you're spending from a past version of yourself. That's what a lot of the work is.
Okay. So starting with an aligned spending plan, which, by the way, I love the name. I love the words. I am such a fan and believer of like the words we say matter. So like
Yeah.
a long time ago, I stopped calling it a budget.
Yeah.
I started calling it, I can't remember, but it was like my abundance financial plan, my
Yeah.
abundant financial plan. Like that's because the words we use matter.
They
Um,
do. And so for that, so yeah, how do you want to, like, you are in control of your life, like spend in alignment with what you're trying to create. And the other word that I've swapped is I hate calling it an emergency fund. You'll never catch me unless I'm explaining to you what I mean for the first time. I call it a future fund. You are putting money aside for future you. You are for whatever comes up. It doesn't need to be an emergency. And also, I'm not trying to call in emergencies in my life. Like, that's crazy. And I think with that terminology too, then people are like, well, I don't know, I have this money here, but like there's no emergency, but like this is something that would be good. And then they feel conflicted on it. It's like that is for your future. If you feel like you need to spend it on something, if something comes up, if an emergency does happen, right, you've got that money there. But let's stop calling it emergencies. Like we don't need that energy in our life.
I love that. I love that 1,000%. I don't think I named it something different, but I definitely wasn't calling it that in my own mind. It was just like, this is my set aside savings. It was just like my savings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so good. Okay. So an aligned spending plan. Is there maybe like one or two other things? So they get that. Then what would be like, what's coming up here is like, because I'm feeling like, okay, maybe kind of like, so you get aligned with it, but I feel like something that doesn't get talked about a lot, and even is like a thing that I've been working on doing for the most part, like I had my aligned spending plan, but it's like I needed to create more income. And I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of women who I talk to that are in that situation because maybe they are stay-at-home moms, or maybe they're working, but their opportunities are a little limited because they are a mom or XYZ, whatever.
Yeah.
Or just the conditioning we get as women. So we're not speaking up enough, all of that. So making more money, like more income, I feel like to support, even if you have an aligned plan, I would love to hear like your take on like coaching women through or what that looks like. Is that a big piece of like us women, like literally needing to create more income and like how to start doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the stages that I go through is like, okay, we've built this plan now and we've optimized what is already there. Now, how are we going to pour gasoline on your plan, right? We figured out where your money's going, how you're spending it. We've also figured out at this point, like what your investment goals are. And if you need to hit, right? Because usually what happens, it's like, okay, now on the other side of that is we're talking about financial freedom and investments. And now I'm helping them understand how much they should be putting into their investment goals every single month. And this is where there's often a gap, right? Of like, okay, well, I'm not making enough. It's like, cool. Well, how are we going to, or maybe you are and you just want to pour gasoline on it, right? So, how are we closing that gap? And it's like, okay, well, now we're in the spot of like, how are we going to go make more money? How do we bring more money into your world? And so, obviously everyone's situation is so unique. So there's not going to be like a one size fits all, but some of those things you could look at if you are working, right? When is the last time you have gotten a raise? I don't think people understand this a lot of we have baked in inflation. So no matter, I know we've talked like inflation's a hot topic right now. It's been through the roof. I think that it's back down now, but no matter what, the government is planning for 3% inflation, which means if you're not at least getting a 3% raise every single year, then you're actually making less money every single year. And so a lot of this could be empowerment around how are you negotiating either a raise in your job and having the confidence to go in and be like, hey, here's all of the backing of why I need to be doing this. My past corporate career was also in the staffing world, so like we did a lot of hiring, so being able to coach them around having those conversations of negotiating a pay raise is really important. Or is this career just like not it for you? And like a lot of times people are like, well, I would go for that, but there's a lack of confidence there, right? So there's some interesting studies around how men will apply for jobs that are they're 50% qualified for, and women need to be 100% qualified in order to apply for them. And so just helping like, okay, what's the game plan here with your career path so we can really expedite, because the best thing you can do after you get your foundation in place is absolutely go make more money. So
Yeah.
if you're a corporate girly, that would be like two things to look at is like, let me get serious about actually making more money in the current job or finding a different job that's going to support the life I'm trying to create, and having the to go after that. And
Mhm.
then if you're in the entrepreneurship side, yeah, we're talking, okay, well, do you have anything that's bringing in money right now? Do we need to look at increasing your prices? Do we need to talk about the fear of being seen or the visibility component of putting yourself out there? Because that's what holds a lot of people back too. And those are subconscious fears of what people are going to think and how we're going to get judged. So we could work through that. But I would say if you're trying to just figure out, I have no extra income right now and I don't even know where to start, I would ask yourself, what are you good at? What do you like doing? What do people come to you for advice for? I think we are often way too close to our own strengths and we can't see what we're good at because we don't recognize things as strengths when they come easy to us. And so start to ask yourself or ask people around you, hey, what do you feel like I'm good at? What do you feel like I have more knowledge in? Another good tactic, I used this when I was back in corporate trying to figure out my exit plan. I would keep a note, and anytime someone complimented anything, I put it on there. And people would be like, man, you're so good at talking. Can you say that again on my meeting? And I'm like, that's a silly compliment, but I guess I'm going to write that down. And then when I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to start a podcast? I'm like, so many people talk to me about how I articulate things. Maybe I should stop trying to be too humble here and just own it, that this was a strength I was given. Your girl can yap. Like, lean into it. You know what I mean? So start asking people around you what you're good at and what brings you joy and what would you want to do more of and like what kind of value can you create, right? We're really talking about value creation when you're on the entrepreneurship world. So I think picking that and then find someone that can help you. Lean on someone. Like, I'm such a believer in community. You do not need to figure this out alone, especially in today's age. There is a coach out there for everything. So figure out who can help point you in the right direction. And you've got to build up the confidence to be able to lean into that and to believe. And I think when you have the bigger plan and you can actually be like, oh, this extra $500 a month is going to help me do this, and there's a little bit more conviction behind it and excitement, then I think that that's like part of the plan.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Love all of that. So many options of how to create more income, and literal like walked us through the ways to do that. And even like what kind of even came up hearing that was like when you said like the oomph, you know, like that, like when we gotta like, and to me that comes when you have the vision. Like you truly are like, this is the home I want. This is the legacy I want to leave. I want to have the money to do the, like when you have that, to me, that pulls you up and out of the fear, up and out of the like, what am I going to, you don't even think about what you're going to look like or who's going to say what or who's thinking this or that. You just fucking do it because you're so compelled.
Yeah. Or you do think it and you're like, you know what? I think the life I'm going to create and the experience that I want to have and the reason I came to this earth and the purpose that I have and the impact that I want to make, it just has to be bigger and louder than what little Nancy is going to think about me on the internet. Like it has to be, you know? And I think that, yeah, the more that you realize that and can lean into that, and the bigger and the clearer your vision gets, and the more conviction you have behind making it a reality, the easier it gets to move through fear.
Ooh, okay. I love that. The bigger, the clearer, and the more convicted we can be with that. I want to drop into that real quick. So, because I feel like we hear about like creating this vision. Now we know what it really needs to look like. But say you do that and then it's 3 days later and then life happens and then you're cleaning and you're back into the like, what do you feel like helps you or helps your clients to like keep anchoring back in to that?
Yeah, such a good question. I think having daily habit, like first of all, like we talked about, go through this exercise until you can get so clear, right? A lot of the first time you do it, you might be like, I don't know. That's okay. Find one thing, anchor into that, and then keep coming back to this question. If the answer was yes, what would I ask for? Who do I want to be? Right. And if you're really stuck on that, what makes you jealous? When you see people and you're like, ugh, of course she just gets to live her life and she doesn't have to go to that job. And like for me, I was like, oh, I think that means I don't want to be in this corporate job anymore. Like I should probably listen to that envy, listen to that to figure out like if you think someone's living a really cool life, like you probably want some of that. Let's be real, right? And so getting as clear as you can on that. I think 2 tools that help a lot are journaling and visualization practices. So our brain, right, it fears anything it doesn't know. So anything you haven't experienced, anything that you haven't done before, it's like, oh, is this going to kill me or not? Because our brain's main purpose is to keep us alive. And so when we see these ideas or we see these visions or we have this life, there's usually a lot of fear that pops up in our brain because our brain's just trying to keep us protected. That's it. And we're not trying to just survive. We're trying to build a life where we are thriving, right? And so in order to do that, we're going to have to do shit we've never done before. And so what a really good tool is visualization, because visualization, if you can get super clear on the experience that you're trying to create and the memories that you want to have and all of that, your brain can't tell the difference between a lived experience and a really, really strong memory. So the better you can get at visualization, the more real it can feel to your internal body, the easier it is to start making moves, to start moving in that direction. And again, move through that fear, because the fear starts to dissipate the more regulated you get to the experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Not to say it goes away 100%, but you can also start to recognize it for what it is and be like, I don't think I'm going to let this hold me back. And I think that also helps you stay grounded in what the goal is and what the vision is. And so even if it's something small, I'll give you like the easiest way to implement visualization into your day. I have a poster in my bathroom, and it says, what's the best that could happen? And every morning while I'm brushing my teeth, doing my makeup, curling my hair, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about my agenda for the day. And I'm just thinking about what's the best possible thing that could happen? What's the best outcome here? You know, if I'm going to hop on this call, they're going to be like, oh my God, you're exactly what I'm looking for. Let's move forward. And so starting your day with like positive intentionality is really good. And also just, constantly reminding yourself what you're after and why.
So good. So good. Okay. And that even makes me want to like, I feel like I'm going back in and out of like big picture and then it's tangible. Like, you've said this a couple times, and we know this is a part of it, is like, okay, we've got the vision, then we're anchoring it in, is the habits, like the little habits that, just like in working out, you can't just work out once and get a six pack. Like you got to go to the gym and like you got to keep going. So it's a consistency of like our habits. And this is such a big thing you hear about around money, is like, what are your habits around it? And we need to change those if we want something different.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what are some of your money habits, or what were some of those that when you were transitioning from like, okay, I don't want to be a broke bitch, like I want to be this new money bitch, like what were or what are some of those like day to day, week to week money habits that you're doing that we can do?
Yeah. Okay. First things first, we've got to be tracking our money. Right? If you're just like swiping the card and you never go back in to see what the heck's going on your card, or you've got like automatic credit card payments and you have no idea what's going on, but you're just like, I'm not going to worry about it. There's a lot of avoidance that happens with our finances. So not avoiding it, right? Like you've got to look at it. We can't change anything if we don't know what's going on. And so that could be a spreadsheet for you. I'm not a huge spreadsheet girly because it's just like another thing to update. I love a good app that just hooks up and it tracks all my finances. So a habit for me is regularly checking in with my spending, tagging it, tracking against like, how much do I have in business expenses this month? How much have I spent out eating with my friends? Like having awareness on where your money is going is going to be like a great starting spot if you just don't have any of that in place. I also, habits are like, automating savings. Like if you have savings goals and investment goals, just automate it. Like let everything work for you behind the scenes. Do the hard work of figuring out how much you want to be going into your savings accounts for the goals that you have and the investment number, and then automate it. That's like an automated habit where you don't even have to think about it, right? I would say another habit I have when it comes to spending, like this was a big one for me, is really checking in. And this kind of goes back to that aligned component, right? Of like when I'm about to make an investment or purchase anything, just really asking myself like where it's coming from. Like one of the biggest habits I had to stop doing when I was trying to get serious about my money was just not habitually spending money at Starbucks every single morning. Like we get into these habit loops where we're not even asking like, am I spending this because this is like bringing me joy, or am I just spending because this is just the habitual routine that I am in and I actually don't want to be in this routine anymore? And so starting to really fact check with yourself and like call yourself out on your bullshit of like, do I really need that? Like, you know what I mean? And again, coffee is like such a small example, but like with clothing, with spending, with trips, like, am I saying yes to these things because they make me feel good? They make me feel included? Or are these actually things I'm spending money on to like invest in the life that I'm trying to create? So just a lot more intentionality before swiping the card. And I think just asking again, am I trying to feel a void? Like, where is this coming from? Especially like in my heavy online shopping days, right? Like what's going on here? Like, why am I late night scrolling? Right? That could be a good habit. Ditch late night scrolling. Don't let yourself check out at night. This is a big thing I've put in is like, even if I'm scrolling and I throw it in the cart, I'm not allowed to hit checkout late at night because my ability to make a good decision at the end of the day is just like depleted. So I'll
Yeah.
decide in the morning if I'm going to actually go through with this purchase or not. If it still feels good and in alignment, then we'll do it.
Ooh, okay. I love all of those. And I kind of want to like even add to that. What comes up is so something I'll do, especially with like shopping, in person or online, truly, is like I play the love it game.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I like this? Of course it would look cute on me and like be good, but like, do I fucking love it? And so
Yeah.
what I'll do, and this kind of goes, and the second thing is like holding space.
Mm-hmm.
So then I won't buy it. I'll be like, gosh, I really like that little thing or that purse or that pair of pants or whatever it is. But I'm like, and so I'll back away and I'll give it space. The decision, I'll give it space. And if I'm still thinking about it a few
Mm-hmm.
days later and then a week later and then a two or whatever it is, if I'm still thinking about it, then I'm like, I know I fucking love it and I want it. I'm going to go get it.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think leaving some delayedness is a really great practice, especially if you are someone that has that spending habit. I know everyone doesn't, but I don't know. I kind of feel like everyone does with the way Amazon is just training our brains to like shop all the time. But yeah, putting some delayed like 24, 48-hour rule before hitting purchase is really important. Making sure that there's no like urgency tactics that are manipulating you to feel like you have to buy now and that's what's making you buy. Or are you just buying because it's on sale? Like, is that why? Oh, I got a good deal. Like, that's a big thing for a lot of people coming out of scarcity mindset is like, well, it's just a good deal. And it's like, okay, but do you love it or are you buying it because it's 50% off? Like, what's the motivator here, right? Like, that was something I really had to look at because I'm like, my closet is full of all of these clothes, but I hate everything and everything has tags on it. But it was a deal.
Yeah.
But it was a deal.
Yeah. Oh
So,
my
yeah, I
gosh.
think that's super good. The last thing I'll mention on that I think is a fun hack is I use my notes app as like a mini vision board.
Mm,
I know like we were talking before this about this company Primally Pure. I really want to try some of their products. And so what I'll do if I really want to buy something, but it's like to delay that and to really instill like delayed gratification too, is like I have a notes app. I will take the photo and put it on the notes app, list the name and list the product or list the price of it. And then when I want to go purchase something, I'll fact check against the notes app and I'll just be like, is there something else that I want on here more? Or like just using it as like a mini vision board too. Like I like to gamify finances a lot, like hitting milestones and then rewarding yourself. And so it's like, ooh, what am I going to get? And I have this whole mini vision board of like things that I want to buy that aren't necessities that I can like work towards and have fun with.
OMG, this is so funny. Like, y'all, we are just like colliding in the universe as two soul sisters. We have been ever since we met, I feel like, because I literally I'm like smiling and laughing because in my notes app, literally not like a Google Doc, my notes app, it says things to get. That's
Yeah.
just what I've labeled it. And I'll put those things on there where it's like, that's not in my budget this month.
Yeah.
And or I just see it and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. And I'm still feeling it out. Like this Jackson necklace was one of those things when I like it first started like finding me. And it's like for sporty, like it's like a lot of men athletes wear one and it's gold chain and it's just like it's so me. And I added it to my things to get list. And like when I hit one of my milestone goals and I literally had the funds in my budget, I was like, fuck yeah, we're doing this. But I'd investigated it. I'd even gone to a local jewelry shop to be like, what length do I want? Do I want the 20 millimeter? Do I want the 22? Like, but it was on my things to get list. And I do think that's a really, it's like to me, when I put something on there too, it doesn't feel like, oh, I can't get this or I don't have the money. Like it doesn't go into like a negative money loop. It's like, ooh, like I'm gonna put this on my things to get list.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it then.
I love that. Yeah, I think what you're doing there is right. It's like instilling a little bit of delayed gratification, which I think we are all desperately in need of, right? Desperately in need of. And it's not like, oh, I can't afford this. Like, sure, you could buy whatever you want, but like, is that what's in your best interest? Like, is that what you want to do? I just think if you are someone that has a shopping, I don't say problem, but like if you are someone that's like a heavy shopper, it's like you probably know what it feels like to hit the purchase, get the little dopamine hit, maybe the package arrives, it's exciting, and it's so fleeting, and then you're just back in this loop of buying more and buying more, and you're just like, what is it all for? So like pause and be more intentional. These companies are spending a shit ton of money to convince you to spend your money with them. Like, have a little bit more like discernment around where you're putting it, and being in control of that, I think, is like a really, really good skill to practice. And what I want everyone to hear in that is, it is a skill to practice. Delayed gratification is something that you can get better at. You just have to want it.
Yeah, totally. I love that you emphasize that, because I do think, like, we're talking about this, like, oh, we got this. And it's like, no, listen, we all still make the purchases every now and then. We're like, oh, okay, got to go return that to Amazon now because I don't know what I
Yeah.
was.
And like my whole thing isn't like restriction, right? I don't want anyone to leave this thinking it's not. It's about having both. But when you want both, when you want the growing investment accounts, and you want the Pinterest worthy vacations, and you want the, automatic contributions into your savings account, and you want the bougie girl dinners, like you can have both. That is what my whole thing is about, is helping you have both. But in order to have both, you do need a little bit more discernment around what's actually important to you.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Okay. I want to ask, I'm curious. So we kind of went to the habits then, the little habits. What about some of the money mindset practices? What are some of, like, if it's a mantra, if it's I don't know, writing it out, the journaling practice, like what are some of the like money mindset practices that we could start to implement along with the like tangible, like automating our bank accounts kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it's like journaling and visualization are a lot of those mindset practices, meditating, getting calm, right? And I think it's like the mindset component is just really starting to ask yourself, like, what are the beliefs that I have about money? So, like, and this goes deep, like we talked about, if you're going to go get a new job, like, do you believe that you can do it? Do you believe that you can hold that level of wealth? Like, do you believe that you can make that money? And like, I think that there's a lot of subconscious like success blocks, is what I like to call them, of like realizing what is holding you back from moving forward. Again, there's a lot of subconscious fears there, right? Of like, well, if I get this, then I'm going to have to be a better steward of money, or I'm going to have to build a team around me. Maybe I'm going to have to put boundaries in place. A lot of people start to make money and they're like afraid that their parents or friends or family members are going to like want more from them. So I think it's like asking yourself, like, what do you like, figuring out what is holding you back from a mindset perspective, and starting to identify those limiting beliefs. And then I think from there is like, okay, once you have a limiting belief that you've been able to identify, which sometimes you can identify these on your own, sometimes you're just in a conversation with someone, right? I feel like one of my superpowers is like hearing your limiting beliefs and being like, oh, interesting that you said it that way, right? Like, I think you actually might think this to be true. Once you figure out what the belief is, and then you figure out what you would rather believe to be true, going out and finding proof in the real world is the best thing. Because once your brain can understand that the other thing is true, or that it's possible, then your brain starts to ask, oh, well, then how can I do it for myself? Right. So, like, if you think that all rich people are greedy and evil, like, if that's the core belief that you have, your job's to go find the nicest fucking rich person you can, because they exist and there are a lot of them. Right. And then your brain can be like, oh, well, I guess that kind of is not real. Right. So I just think finding proof is a really great way to start to flip your mindset.
Oh, I love that. And I know, like, for myself, that's, as a mom, I'm also looking for millionaire moms, is really what I honed in on, millionaire moms and entrepreneurs in this last year. And interestingly enough, lo and behold, when I set that intention and that vision, I remember last fall is when I did that. And then I was invited to join this like group that was doing like a challenge from a coach that I had talked to like a year ago, and basically hadn't been in touch, hadn't heard from him since. And all of a sudden he was like, hey, there's this group. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, sure. Cool. So I said yes to that little nudge, even
Yeah.
though it was like, well, I don't know, like, whatever. Sure. Why not? And in that group was my fabulous new friend, Bree Kane. And she started a VA business, and she has 3 kiddos, very young, and went from like basically zero to $1 million in 2 years. And I was like, I want to know this bitch. Like,
Yeah.
I reached out to her, and now we've been connected and friends ever since. And just things like that have been happening over this
Yeah.
last year, because that is my intention. I was just at a business conference 2 weeks ago with Becca Pike, who is a millionaire with 4 kids with 4 different businesses, 7 figures.
Mhm.
So I'm like, and she doesn't work 80 hours a week either. Cause that's my
You're
other
like,
thing is like,
it's possible.
I want to see it's possible to make $1 million as a mom and not, and like work 25 hours a week. So
Yeah.
I need
I like
to.
love that. Let me geek out for a hot second on the neuroscience behind that, because that's where it's like the neuroscience behind like manifestation and exactly what you're explaining. We have this thing called our reticular activating system in our brain, and in our brain is taking in millions and millions and millions of bits of information at any given day. So we can't process all of that. And so what's happening in our brain is deleting, distorting, or generalizing the information that comes into our brain. And it's doing that through the filter of what we tell it is what we believe. We tell it what's important. And so this is like when you start to get really clear and you're like, okay, I want to go find proof that this is possible out there. I want to go find an opportunity, or I know what I want. Your brain is now like, oh, okay, this is what she thinks is important. We are going to filter out all of the information that is important to her and highlight it, right? So like the best example is the car example. If you're going to go buy a new car and you do all the research and you're like, that's it, I'm going to buy a white Volkswagen Jetta, like that's my new car. And then you drive, and then you're out and you're like, is everybody driving this car? And all of a sudden it's popping up. It's because you've told yourself it's really important. So same thing when you get really clear on the life you're trying to create, the money opportunities that you want to come in, like that's why I like to start my day with the question of like, what's the best that could happen? And I think through all of these things, because then my brain is actively looking for all of the things that are going to make this true, make this real for me. And that's why if you have a belief that is negative or limiting, and your belief is that this isn't possible, your brain's going to do the same thing. It's going to go find all of the information to validate your point that it's not possible. So it's really up to you to be super intentional about what you want your brain to show you. And do you want it to show you limitations, or do you want it to show you opportunities? And like, you get to be in control of that.
Oof. So good. So good. Okay, I know we're kind of getting close on time here. There's one other thing I wanted to touch on and then kind of open some space for you. Because I feel like it's such an important part. It was an important part of your journey to get to where you are. And it's just how we create wealth is investing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, for somebody who isn't investing yet, and wants to start investing, or maybe they are, but they still don't quite like have a grasp or know enough. Like, what would you say to a woman who is like, yes, okay, I want this wealthy, I want to be the millionaire, I want to make all this money, I want to have this freedom. Where do they start with investing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say the biggest component of wealth building, the biggest and most important part of the equation is time. So a lot of people will wait until they have more money, wait until they hit another milestone, wait until they pay this off, wait until they do that. But you're shorting yourself, right? Time is the most important thing. So starting, even if right now it's $5, $15, $100, like it doesn't have to be monumental. The important part is doing this, getting the education around like, what do I want to be investing in and where do I do that, and setting it up. And we talked about the habits of the automation. Even if you set up something where it's just like running in the background and it's $5 a week that you're putting in there, you've now built the habit. And when you start to see it going in and you start making more money, it's easier to be like, okay, now more, okay, more, okay, more. So starting as soon as you can, even if it's small, would be my biggest thing for you to take away from that. From like a logistical standpoint, when we talk about investing, you would want to essentially start with like your accounts that you're wanting to look at. So you could either look at a 401k, like we're talking stock market investing. I guess I should say you can either invest in the stock market, invest in real estate, or invest in businesses. Those are like the 3 core places that women are going to build wealth, right? Stock market's usually the best place for you to start. It's going to be the most tried and true, the most reliable. It could be, the lowest risk, most guaranteed reward. There obviously is no guarantees, but it has the longest track record. Real estate is what you would want to look at if you are wanting to maybe get there faster, right? Get your wealth goals faster. That being said, real estate's going to require more time, money, and energy of you to put into it. So if you're looking for your most passive way, it's the stock market. Real estate's going to take more out of you. And then obviously we know businesses take the most. You have the highest reward possible, but you're also taking the most risk, and it's taking the most time and energy for you. So it's really looking at what wealth building path makes the most sense for your time and your goals. Some people are crazy like us and want to start businesses, and some people don't. And so if you're just like, what's the easiest, most passive way to get in? It's the stock market. So you would want to look at like your 401k, your IRAs, your brokerage accounts, those types of accounts. And so you'd want to figure out what account and then essentially figure out what it is that you're investing in there. Really easy, like tried and true way that a lot of people pick is looking at like index fund investing, because you can just buy a whole bunch of stocks at once, automate it, and have less risk, right? When we're talking about investing in the stock market, it's not day trading. You're not in there and analyzing all of these stocks on a day basis. It's very passive. So that hopefully that answers your question and gives you guys like a good starting spot if you're trying to look into this.
Oh my gosh, that was like so beautiful, like so succinct, so well done, and so doable. Because I think just like even that is like, you know what? It's take the easiest if like you're just starting, or even if you want to expand a little bit, like start with the lowest hanging fruit. It's so passive to invest in the stock market. You can literally start an account today, you guys, today.
Yeah.
And it could be $5, $10 a month. Like it could be everybody's got everybody's got $10 a month. I don't even care. Like
you could figure it out and you could cut a Starbucks to put in your investment account. And I'll just say, since you have a lot of moms that listen to this too, you can be the person that can make your kid a millionaire by starting investments when they're kids. Like I think one of the coolest things is you start these accounts for them and you're putting in not that much, but time is the best thing. And you've got 18 years while they're in the house of nothing happening. So even if you can carve out like $100 a month and you're putting it in these investment accounts for your kids, they're going to have access to hundreds of thousands of dollars when they are entering, buying their first home chapters, going to college chapters, planning their wedding, like those formative years, they're going to have money there. And then also if it continues to ride until they're 65, they're going to have $1 million+ waiting for them in retirement. And I just think that like, it's such a beautiful opportunity to create that new money. Give them opportunities. The world is just going to continue to get more and more expensive. Like if we think home prices and college and gas and eggs is crazy now, like wait till 30, 40 years from now. So if you can do something to give your kids like a little bit of support in that with just $100 a month, like definitely look into something like that too, if that's of interest of you.
Yeah. Okay. I love that mom plug there. And that just, on that is like something I've already started doing with my boys is whenever they get money, even if it's from Grandma Julie, or if it's like, what they make $10 from doing something, like I always say, and I keep saying it over and over, is like, okay, you know what we do with our money, right? Is 10% you invest, 10% you save, and you can spend the rest. So it's that is already like, that was my one little mini like rule or guideline. And so like they started to be like, I asked them the other day, do you know, okay, whenever you get any money, what are we doing? And they were kind of like, it wasn't quite like so solid, but it's like they know it doesn't just get to be spent just all and do whatever they want with it.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Madison, this is so good. Okay. I want to like just open the space for you. Is there anything I didn't ask, we didn't talk about that is really on your heart and head that you want to share out in the world?
I feel like, money doesn't have to be scary, right? I know for a lot of people, it's a very taboo topic and it's not something that is like easy to speak about for so many people. And that's just why I created this space. So I guess, if you are someone who's listening to this and you feel like you have no one to yap about with money and you want to just talk about things or guidance, like I am just your biggest supporter. I'm always rooting for women to feel financially empowered because I know how much of a domino that is into you getting to get out of fight or flight, get out of survival mode, and like really experience life to the fullest. And like that is how I view financial confidence and being able to use that as a tool. So like, I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say on that.
I love it. I love it. Okay, where can everybody find you and follow you, connect with you? Tell us all the places, all the things you have going on.
Okay, Instagram is my main hangout. So you can find me on Instagram at New Money Madison is the handle. So follow me there and slide on in the DMs. And then I have a podcast, which Samantha is already going to be on. It's called Busy Getting Better. So come listen if you want some more of this. It's mindset, money tips, inspiration to just go after your dreams. We have, corporate girlies, entrepreneurship girlies, like everyone is welcome in this world. So I'd say Instagram and podcast are the two main places. And then I'll also I have a quiz that can help you figure out your new money archetype, which would kind of help you figure out where you're at and maybe what your next step would be. So I'll share that with you too, if you want to drop that in the show notes for anyone in case they want to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah, amazing. We will put it all in the show notes. Thank you so much, Madison. This is so much fun. I can't wait for everybody to find you, follow you, and y'all, like, mark it here today. It is July 31st, 2025 when we are recording this, and new money, new money. We are creating it right here, right now. And like, tag Madison, let her know, share the episode. Like, I want you guys to come back 6 months from now or a year from now and be like, yo, this is what I've created and what I've done, or reach out to work with her.
Oh my gosh, I want that for you all too. Manifesting it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madison.
Thank you so much.